Okay, good morning, all the students. In the
Good
last class,
morning.
yes, good morning. In the last class, we have seen how to read data from a Hadoop URL and from Hadoop file system. Now we'll continue with the other task of interacting with the files, that is writing the data to the file. Okay, in the last class, the topics we covered are reading data from a Hadoop URL. If we pass a Hadoop URL, how we can read the data from that Hadoop URL by opening an input stream, okay, and display it onto the screen. And the second type of operation we have seen is reading the data using file system API. So by providing the path to a file system through the API, we are trying to read the data from that file and writing it onto the screen. That is standard output or any console. Okay, it can be to print the data also. And the third one is how to use this FS data input stream as a specialized class of data input stream, which is derived from Java IO package, right? So from this Java IO package, we generally derive data input stream, and from that data input stream, we extend that data input stream in order to specialize the class FS data input stream. Right? You remember all these concepts that we have done? Okay, so how we can represent this hierarchy? From java.io, we use the class data input stream in order to perform input operations. But if you want to read the data from the file, in such cases, you use a specialized class which extends data input stream, and that specialized class is called as FS data input stream, right? And this FS data input stream will implement position readable and seekable interfaces. That also we have covered. Position readable and seekable. These two are the interfaces that are implemented by this FS data input stream. Okay, so by implementing these two interfaces, position readable and seekable, we would be able to implement the abstract methods that are declared in this position readable and seekable. Are you able to follow the terminology clearly? We are using data input stream class of Java IO package and extending it to use the specialized class FS data input stream, that is file system data input stream, which implements two interfaces, position readable and seekable. They have an abstract method, get position, which will help us to seek the file cursor position in a file from where we can read the data. Okay, so you need not compromise to read the data only in a sequential manner. You can read the data randomly also. You can read the data dynamically from a given file pointer, from a given file position, and you can place the file pointer at a given file position by using seekable and read from there itself. Okay, and if you want to read the file once and again read the file from the beginning without having to close the input stream and reopen it, you can use the seek method. This seek method will help you to take the file pointer, seek the file pointer from where it is existing and put it back to the position where you want to read the file from in your next operation without having to close your file again and again, right? You remember all these interfaces and the methods of those interfaces we have implemented. And in today's class, we are going to cover on how to write the data to a Hadoop file system and how to use this FS data output stream. In the last class, we have seen what are the methods what are the interfaces that are implemented by FS data FS data input stream, and what methods we can override in order to implement the functionality of that FS data input stream. In today's class, we are going to understand more deeply about FS data output stream, and finally how to create the directories. Okay, now let us focus first on how to write the data. Now the file system class has a number of methods for creating a file, right? If you want to create a file either on your local system or on your Hadoop cluster, you have a file system class available to do that task. And it has a number of methods to create a file, because creating a file, in order to create a file, you might have to pass lots of parameters and give some file permissions, or you should be able to mention the buffer size, or you should be able to mention the block size, right? Lots of variations or lots of functionalities or lots of versions of writing data to a file may exist. Okay, so the file system class has a number of methods for creating files. In different ways you want to create the file. Now the simplest is the method that takes a path object, that takes the path to a file as parameter for the file to be created, yes, and returns an output stream to write to. Got it? You are trying to pass the path object for the file as a parameter to the file system class, to the create method of file system class, and it returns an output stream to write to. So what you understand is, in reading the data from a file, first you locate the file, then you create an input stream to read the data from the file, through which it can be read and written onto the screen, onto a console. Okay, that you understood. Now you are trying to create an output stream. This is input stream to read the data from the file. And next, if you want to write the data to a file, then you're creating an output stream through which the data has to be passed to the file, to be written into the file. Got it? Do not get confused where you use input stream and where you use output stream. In general, when you're writing some data to a disk, then you use normal data input stream and data output stream. But when you're writing data to files, you use file system data input stream and file system data output stream. Okay, so to read the data from a file, we use data input, file system data input stream, and to write the data to the file, you use file system data output stream. Where do you read the data from? From another file, you read the data into your output stream, and through that output stream, you write it onto the file. Got it? Now, what is the signature? What is the prototype for that? For using that file system data output stream, you use public file system data output stream, and this is the prototype or signature for the method create that belongs to the class FS data output stream. This create method belongs to the class FS data output stream. Now you're creating a path to a file and writing the data to that FS data output stream, which will write that data in the output stream further to the file by creating the file that is mentioned in this path. Are you able to understand? We are trying to create a file with the name mentioned in this path, and you're connecting a file system data output stream to that file that is created, and put all the data into that output stream, which will be written to the file. Okay, and always we try to make the system implicitly handle the errors, exceptions, by throwing the IO exception. Again and again, I'm repeating, whenever you're performing some input or output operations, they may raise some exceptions. Say if the file can't be successfully created, or if you are trying to create a file with the name of existing file. In such cases, that will throw exceptions, that will raise some errors. So if you want those errors to be handled gracefully by the system itself, you have to use this throws IO exception. Got it? So there are overloaded versions of this method create that allow you to specify various types of functionalities, various types of parameters, not functionalities, various types of parameters. So what are the parameters you can specify? Whether to forcibly overwrite existing files. If you want to forcibly overwrite existing files, what do we mean by this? If you want to create a file, if the file is not existing, the file will be safely created. But if the file is already existing, then what will happen? Then if you're trying to write some data to the already existing file, that data will be written at end of the file. That data will be written at from where the last write has completed. Means in the initial state, you have written some data to the file. Now the file cursor will be here. Now the data that is newly being written will be written from this end. That means it adds the data to the already existing data. This is called as appending the data. So if the file is not existing, the file is successfully created. If the file is existing, then it will write the data or add the data to the existing data in the file. But if you want to forcibly overwrite the existing data, still you can do that by enabling the overwrite option. If you want to forcibly overwrite on the existing file by replacing the existing data, still you can do that while creating the file or while writing the data to the file. Now, what is the next option you have? The replication factor of the file. Replication factor will specify how many copies of that file need to be maintained in the HDFS cluster. And I already said that the default replication factor is 3 for HDFS cluster. Okay, the default replication factor for HDFS cluster is 3, means 3 copies of every file has to be maintained. Okay, now if you want to customize it, say if you have confidence that some data may not be accessed frequently, you can make the replication factor as 2, or you can maintain only 1 copy of it. But if you want some data to be frequently accessed, so that simultaneous access to the data have to be provided in order to read the data very, very quickly. In such cases, you might have to maintain more than the default number of copies, right? And sometimes the data may be critical, where you can't take the least chance of losing the data. In such cases, you might increase the, you would feel to increase the replication factor to 5 or 6. Okay, so what are the 2 scenarios I have presented to you now? If the criticality data is more, if the data is frequently accessed, in order to provide shared access to the data, to read the data very quickly, you can increase the replication factor. Got it? And next, the buffer size to use when writing the file. Another parameter that you can customize is the buffer size to use when writing the data to the file. You know what is a buffer size? How much data can be accumulated in the temporary memory in order to flush it out onto the file when writing the file, and flush it onto the output screen when reading the data from the file. Okay, so the buffer size is a temporary space where the data is held. So the data can't be read at a time, right? All say if you have some 4,000 bytes of data, all the data will not be read at a time. The data will be slowly read because the access speeds are not too high. In order to place the read-write cursor on the disk on the appropriate track, onto the appropriate sector to read that file content, it takes some time. So if you take 4,000 bytes of data to be read, that will be done very slowly. Now, when the data is being slowly read, that can't be as and when it is read, it can't be immediately flushed onto the output device or onto a file that is being written. So it will accumulate the data. It will accumulate the data into a buffer, that is temporary space, where if you have given the buffer size as 300 bytes, 300 bytes of data will be accumulated, and at a time it will be flushed on to the file where the data is being written to. Got it? That is how buffer size is used. Temporarily the data will be held before it is flushed on, before it is flushed out to the output device or onto a file. Got it? So next parameter that you can specify is the block size for the file. What is block size for the file? You have learned that block size is the minimum abstraction that you can maintain in order to transfer the files between the data nodes or in order to store the data in a data node. Block is the simple level. Block is the minimal level of data storage or data transfer. It can be divided further. That is called as block size. Okay, data is stored at a block level of abstraction. So if you want to mention this block size, sometimes you may have to keep the block size very less, like 64 megabytes. Sometimes you may want to increase the block size. Because the files are too large, you want to just increase the block size so that they can be stored on minimal amount of data nodes. In such cases, you can increase the block size to say 1 GB. Okay, in such cases, you can give the parameter block size that can be passed to create method. And the last one is file permissions. The last parameter that you can opt to pass is file permissions. What are file permissions? What kind of access is allowed to that file? If you want to allow only read access, or if you want to allow write only access, or if you want to allow append access also, or if you want to allow all these three kinds of privileges to that particular file, that can be mentioned in this parameter, that can give the file permissions, that can specify the file permissions to that particular file. Okay, so what are the overloaded versions of create method? You can forcibly overwrite the existing file. You can mention the replication factor based on the criticality of the data, the buffer size to use when writing the file, the block size for the file, and the file permissions, what kind of access is granted for the file, that can be mentioned. Now there is also an overloaded method for passing a callback interface that is called as progressible. So your application can be notified of the progress of the data being written to the data nodes. So how do you write the data? When you're writing the data onto a file in HDFS cluster, you read the data from live streaming of the data, from log files, from a local system, from a client system. Lots of input devices are available from which you read the data. Now that data is being written onto a file on HDFS cluster, and not onto a single file but onto many files, because copies of that file has to be maintained. And also remember, the data is not stored as a single file. It is fragmented. The data is fragmented into blocks and is written onto many files that reside on various data nodes. So how do you take the data from a client? You read the data through some output stream and write it onto HDFS cluster. HDFS cluster has many data nodes, right? So when the data is being read through the output stream and written onto the data nodes, you should be able to track the progress of that writing task. Okay, when the data is being read from a stream, from an input output stream, from log files or client machine or user machine, from wherever the data is being generated, that will be first read into the output stream, and then it is being written onto various data nodes in fragmented form at block size. Now, what is the progress of this write task? Whether it is under process, or whether the process has initiated at all, or whether the task has ended, writing task has ended. If you want to monitor that progress, you can do that by using this interface, by implementing this interface called as progressible. Now, MapReduce tasks mainly use this progressible interface because not only a single task will be, a single write task will be running on a HDFS cluster, right? Lots and lots of write tasks will be running in the backend on a HDFS cluster. Now, if you want to keep track of all those write tasks, whenever MapReduce divides this write task and executes this simultaneously, that can be kept track by using this progressible. MapReduce framework generally uses this progressible interface in order to monitor, in order to keep track of how far the write task has been completed. Okay, so what is the template for this? First of all, you need to use the package org.apache.hadoop.utilities, utilities subpackage. This interface is available in utilities subpackage. Did you notice it is not part of Java, Java package? It is part of Hadoop's utility package because this is mainly used by MapReduce framework. Okay, so you have to import this package org.apache.hadoop.utilities, and in this we are trying to understand about this interface progressible. This progressible interface has an abstract method, progress. Abstract method means only the declaration is given in this interface. Implementation can be done by the method, by the class that implements this interface progressible. I'm repeating again, progressible interface contains only abstract method. Now, any other class that implements this progressible interface can define this, can implement this progress method. Got it? All these are basic concepts of Java. Still, I'm asserting on those points. If at all, you can't keep track of what has been done so far. Okay? You are using progressible interface, which contains progress abstract method. And this progress abstract method will be implemented by the class that implements progressible interface. Got it? As an alternative to creating a new file, you can append to an existing file by using the append method. Okay. If the file is not existing, you tend to create a file. But if the file is existing and you want to add the data to the existing data in the file, then you have yet another method available, that is append method. Public fs data output stream, use the append method. Now, where the data has to be appended? You have to specify the file name, right? That file name is passed as path parameter, which throws a IO exception. Now, the append operation allows a single writer to modify an already written file by opening it and writing data from the final offset in the file. So whenever you try to use the append operation and write the data to the file, say there is a file that is already existing. Now the file offset is here. The data is written till here. Now the file offset is here. Means the file cursor is existing there. Now if you want to write more data, if you want to append more data to the file, that appending happens from here. From the end of the file, the new data will be appended. The new data is added to existing data. But observe, the append operation allows a single writer. The append operation doesn't entertain multiple writers as you do in RDBMS. Okay, it appends only with a single writer, using a single writer, so that the data consistency or integrity can be maintained. Now with this API, applications that produce unbounded files such as log files can write to an existing file after having closed it. So what is the use of this API? What is the use of this file system data output stream? Sometimes in general cases, if you close a file, you will not be able to write the data to the file. But because you're trying to provide streaming data reads and writes in HDFS or on Hadoop, using this API, applications that produce unbounded files, say if it is producing log files, or if it is producing clickstream data, or if it is producing user click patterns data. Okay, log files generally have data about usage patterns or clicking behavior or URLs that are frequently accessed by the customers. Okay, such kind of log file data will be generated continuously. In such case of unbounded files, you can write to an existing file even after closing it. This option is available with File System Data Output Stream API. Got it? Now the append operation is optional and not implemented by all Hadoop file systems. Okay, append operation is not encouraged. Append operation is not say active. It is not entertained by all kinds of Hadoop file systems. Only some versions allow that append operation, because Hadoop is mainly intended to perform data analysis, not to read the data or write the data, right? The main intention is to analyze large volumes of data. That is why append operation is not implemented by all Hadoop file systems. Now let us see how to copy a local file to a Hadoop file system. Right? So let me explain the scenario. Now you have a local file on your local machine. Now from this local machine, you want to write this file onto Hadoop file system, onto a data node on HDFS cluster. Understand this carefully. I want to read the data from the local machine, from a file on the local machine, onto the data nodes on my HDFS cluster or onto my Hadoop file system, right? This is my operation I'm trying to perform. Now let us see how we can do that by writing a Java class. Now we are creating a public class with the name file copy with progress. Means you can copy a file from local machine onto your Hadoop file system even by monitoring the progress. Okay, so to mention the purpose of that Java class, you have given file copy with progress. Now give the main function also, public static void main. Give the string argument string vector, throws exception, yes. Now the actual class starts. What parameters does it require? What parameters should be passed as command line arguments? You are reading a file from a source. This is your source. And you are writing it to Hadoop file system on HDFS cluster. So this is your destination, right? So you have to specify the source path from where the file has to be read and the destination path where the file have to be written. Okay, so the first local source is taken as the first argument vector, the first command line argument, and destination is taken as your second command line argument. Okay, so when I give the run command, I give %hadoop file copy with progress. I want to execute this Java class, file copy with progress. Now I give the source path from where the data has to be read and destination path from where to where the data has to be written. Okay, so this is my command line argument 0, that is my first argument, and this is my second argument where the file has to be written, where the data has to be written to. Got it? So these two are the variables created for that, to read the local file path and destination file path. Now create an input stream. Create an input stream which takes the new instance of buffered input stream, which again further takes a new instance of file input stream. Understand this carefully. If you understand, you need not forcibly remember it. It will come by default. Okay, understand this carefully. Now, what parameter you're passing to file input stream? You're passing a local file path. That local file, to that local file path, you're opening an file input stream. Why do you require file input stream? To read the data from the file. From which file the data is being read? Local source. That is the local file on your local machine. Okay, you're reading the file, you're reading the content from the file on your local path, local system through file input stream, and this input stream is now being passed as parameter to buffered input stream. What does this buffered input stream do? It will take the data, it will read the data from file input stream and buffer it until it can be flushed out into the input stream from which the data can be read. Okay, so you're creating a file input stream to the local file through which the data can be read. Okay, the data is read into the file input stream. Now, where is this data staged? Further by a buffered input stream. It will be buffered in a buffered input stream object. Now, that object is connected to the input stream. Simple input stream, not file input stream, remember. Because you are trying to first read into a buffered input stream. From there, you can read it as a normal input stream and write it onto a file on HDFS cluster. Okay, so you're connecting this file input stream to the buffered input stream and buffered input stream further to the input stream. Okay, and you always have to create this configuration object, because this configuration object will specify the client or server's configuration. Okay, so you have to use this, you have to create this configuration object as a new instance of configuration class, right? Now, what is your next step? You have to create a file system object now, because you're trying to write the data to a file on HDFS cluster. So you have to have access to this file system class. That is why you're creating a file system object. And how is that object created? By invoking the get method of file system. You know what does a get method do? You have seen this in your previous class. It will get the instance of the URI that is passed as parameter. So what is the URI that is passed as parameter? The destination file path. Observe this. In create, you're passing a parameter destination. So you're creating a path to your destination file. You're creating a path to a destination file by using the URI and passing the configuration of that system on which the file is being created, and you're getting that instance and connecting it to the file system object. Okay, now an object, an instance of file system is created which represents the file on your HDFS cluster. I'm repeating again, an instance of file system object is created which represents the file on HDFS cluster into which you are writing the file. When I ask who is your class representative, you show one person, right? So when I want to convey something or when I want to talk something on behalf of your class, I always refer to your class representative rather than to entire class. In the same way, I'm not directly connecting with the file, but I'm creating a representative of that file. I'm creating an object for that file. I'm creating an instance of the file system FS, right? And using that instance to create to connect it to the output stream through which the data can be written. Okay, so you understood how we created the file system object by calling a create method using the URI that is passed as destination file path, get the instance of the file system, connect it to FS. That is the file system instance that is created. Now this file system represents the file into which you want to write the data. Yes. Now what is your next step? Create the output stream. Again, you're creating one more output stream. Why do you require now? You have created an instance for this, say, file that is being written onto the data node. Observe here. Now, you have to read the data from the source file into an output stream through which the data is passed on to the file into which the data has to be written. Got it? If you want to read the data, what you're doing, read the data from the file into input stream and writing it onto the console or the monitor. Yes. Now, when you're writing the data to a different file, from a local file, you're reading the data from the local file into your output stream, and that output, through that output stream, you're reading the data and writing it onto a file on HDFS cluster. Okay, for that you need to create an output stream object also. Now you're creating the output stream object by, how do you, to what you're connecting this output stream object? You're creating a new file. You're creating a new path to the destination file. Yeah, understood? You are creating a new path to the destination file by creating a new instance of the file system and connecting it to the output stream. Yes, from this side you have connected, but this side also the connection has to be made, right? So you're creating a new path to the destination file. Observe this, you're creating a new path to the destination file and you're creating that file system instance, connecting it to the output stream. And additionally, you're also using the progressible interface. This is direct implementation of progressible interface. Directly you can create an instance of it. How you're doing that? While connecting the file system object to the output stream, you're also creating a new instance of progressible interface. How you're creating it? By defining the progress method. By defining the progress abstract method that is declared in progressible interface. I explained in the previous slide that progressible interface has an abstract method progress, right? Now this progressible interface is implemented by the file system, and what kind of definition you are giving for this progress method? Just you're displaying dots on the screen. System out print, what you're displaying, just dots, means say some progress is happening. If the dots have completed, yes, the writing task has been completed. But if the dots are being printed, it just indicates that the right task is still being performed. Still the right operation is being performed. it is writing the data to the file on Hadoop file system. Okay, to indicate that we are using this. That is how you open the file, monitor its progress monitor the progress of write task to the file, and connect it to the output stream. Yes, now all the connections are made. So what is the remaining task? Read the data from a local machine, write the data onto HDFS cluster, onto data nodes on HDFS cluster. What is the command that you use for that? What is the statement that you use for that? Copy bytes. You always use this copy bytes in order to read the data from the file. In order to write the data to the file, you use copy bytes because you are just transferring the bytes from input stream to the output stream always. But where this input and output streams are connected, that is the main thing which makes difference between reading the data and writing the data. Got it? So how to copy the bytes now? Using the copy bytes method of IO utilities class, you are reading the data from the input stream. You are reading the data from the input stream that is already having data that is read from your local machine. Understand this carefully. You are reading the data from the input stream into which the data is already fed from your local file, and from this input stream you are reading the data into your output stream, and this output stream is connected to the file on the destination machine. This output stream is connected to the file where the data has to be written. Okay, so you are reading the data from the local file through an input stream and further reading it to the output stream. In previous case, in reading the data, what you did, this output stream is nothing but your console, your screen, your monitor. But in this case, output stream is not connected to any monitor, but it is connected to another file on HDFS cluster. Understood now? So you're reading the data from input stream from the local machine and writing it to an output stream which is connected to the file on your HDFS cluster and writing the data through the output stream. Now this is the buffer size 4096, or you can mention the buffer size, and whether all the input output streams have to be implicitly closed. Yes, this time we have given it as true, because you have lots of input streams and output streams that are open. If at all you make a mistake, they will not be implicitly closed. That is why you gave the responsibility of closing the input and output streams that are already open to the Java code itself, okay, to the copy bytes method itself. So the copy bytes method, after all the input output operations are completed, it will implicitly close all the input and output streams, because we have enabled it to true. The fourth argument indicates whether the streams can be automatically closed or not. Yes, you want them to be automatically closed. If you don't want them to be automatically closed, you give it as false, and you have to add the finally block. And in this finally block, you have to use close stream method in order to close the input stream, in order to close the output stream. Rather than that, you are just giving it as true. Okay, it is your wish. You can customize the code according to your requirement. Now, how do you run this? By using the Hadoop command, by using the Java class in which we have written this entire code. This is the source path, that is where this file exists on your local machine, and this is the destination path, that is where your data has to be written onto Hadoop file system, onto a data node on HDFS cluster. That is given as the destination path, right? This is how you write the data from a local, reading it from a local machine and writing it onto Hadoop file system. Now let's move on to the next topic, FS data output stream. This is not too lengthy, so try to focus. FS data output stream is again specialized class of data output stream, which is derived from Java IO package. which is used from Java IO package. Same hierarchy. Java IO package has the class data input stream from which FS data input stream, file system data input stream is derived, or it has another class data output stream from which file system data output stream is derived. Okay, so the create method on file system class, the create method on file system returns an FS data output stream. This is the object. This is the stream that can be returned. What is that? FS data output stream, which, like FS data input stream, has a method for querying the current position in the file. This FS data output stream also has a method to query the current position in the file. Why do you require to query the current position? So that you can write the data from that file pointer. Okay, so how do you use this FS data output stream? By taking the package org.apache.hadoop.fs. This is generally Java's package in order to use the data input stream, but here we use Hadoop's package, hadoop.fs, Hadoop's file system. Now, how do you give the header of the header of the class? Yes, header of the class, public class FS data output stream extends which class? Data output stream, which also implements syncable interface. What is the syncable interface? If you want to read the data from the client system into a buffer and flush it onto the output device or onto a different file, you can use this syncable. In order to make it by default use a buffer size, we use this syncable. Okay, it is something like syncing your phone with your laptop. Okay, you're trying to flush all the data on your phone to your cloud or onto your laptop automatically. If you want to sync them to perform in coordination. Okay, in the same way, if you want to make the data on client system to be flushed out onto a disk file, you can use this syncable interface. Right? Now, public long get position is the method that you can implement, which is contained in the syncable interface. Syncable interface has this abstract method get position. Now you can use FS data output stream class, which implements this syncable interface to override this method, to define this method get position. Okay, this is the template. Implementation elided means it is not shown here. Just to understand the outer template, we have given this. Okay, so this is the entire template we have to use FS data output stream. Now, the most important point to remember, FS data output stream does not permit seeking, means it doesn't entertain random writes. Okay, it doesn't entertain random writes. It entertains only sequential writes. You can't place a file cursor somewhere in the middle of the data and start writing from there. You have to either overwrite the existing data or write the data to the already, or add the data to the already existing data, append the data to already existing data. But you can't randomly write the data somewhere in the middle of the data. So random reads are allowed, but random writes are not allowed. In reading the data from a file, random reads as well as sequential reads are allowed. But while writing the data to the file, random writes are not allowed. Only sequential writes are allowed. Did you understand? Now the last topic for today's lecture is creating the directories. If you want file system to create a directory, file system provides a method to create a directory by the name mkdirs. And observe this, this expects file path as parameter. So if the file system, under this file system, if you want to create a directory, you can do that by using mkdirs method by passing the parameter, that is path to the file, where the file has to be created. Where the directory has to be created. By using which path the directory has to be created, that can be given. And observe this, the return type of this make directories is Boolean value. Why do we have this? If the file system directory is successfully created, then it returns true, and if it is not able to create the directory, then it returns false. For that, you have the return type as Boolean. Okay, now this method creates all of the necessary parent directories if they don't already exist, just like Java IO files mkdirs method. You also have a mkdirs method under file class of IO package. In the same way, under file system also, you have this mkdirs method which creates all the necessary parent directories if they doesn't exist. So if you give a path /user /Tom /Bob /abc.text. If you give a path like this, all these necessary parent directories will be automatically created if they doesn't exist. Okay. Now it returns true if the directory was successfully created. If the directory and all the parent directories, if they doesn't exist and if they are successfully created, then it will return true. If at all it encounters any problem while creating the directories, it returns false. Okay, this is the method to create directories on Hadoop file system. Did you understand? In the next coming session, we are going to understand how to query the file system, how to pose questions to the file system by using file status and how to list the files, how to use path filters through regular expressions, and how to delete the data from a file. These we are going to cover in the next class. Students, any doubts you have till here? I'm able to make it very, very clear for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me stop the recording. I'll take the attendance.